A guy at work asked me how these linear tables function, so I told him I'd make him a video and just show him the inner workings so that he'd have a better understanding. First thing to note is that this particular model has, well, you see that little tab that goes down inside of a hole and lets the table know that the lid is closed. So that has to be closed in order for it to function at all. Kind of like a washer machine. Open the lid, it stops. All right, so close this. I've taken off the dust cover so you can see the inner workings. And this is pretty much the drivetrain of the turntable. As you can see, there's a little motor over here. This one's Pioneer branded because this is a Pioneer table. You've got a worm gear right here. And then you've got what I'll call a sun gear, for lack of a better term here. The motor turns the worm gear using a little belt. That little belt, 9 times out of 10, if you buy one of these secondhand, is not going to be any good. And chances are you're going to have to replace it in order to get any of this to move. But once you replace it, the good news is these motors are pretty hardy, so they normally don't go bad. It's most of the time just the belt and lubrication. Now, when we talk about lubrication, we can move over here, and you can see there's a cart here that moves the entire cartridge assembly along. It's moved using this string. This string is attached to it by a little insert, which you can see right here. I guess there's always a chance that that insert could pop out and stop it from moving, but I doubt that happens very often because it would take a really big jar, and if that were to happen, you'd probably have more problems than just that being loose. There's also a mechanism here that raises and lowers the tone arm. This one is done using another little worm gear there, but it does not run by belt. Some of them do. So if you get one and you're replacing this belt, check and make sure you don't need a belt for this mechanism as well. In this case, you wouldn't. This one's probably a little bit more involved also because it has the programming capability. So it has some extra chips and sensors and things like that up in here that you may not see in other tables. The other culprit, besides the belt being bad, is lubrication here and lubrication here getting hard and sticky and making it hard for this carriage to move along the track. So even if the belt is good, it may be free spinning because this won't move on the sticky grease that's been sitting there for 30 years. The solution to that is to remove it. So with this model right here, you can take these screws out, this one and this one respectively. You can pull this bar off and pull the bar out. Once you do that, you can lift this up and you can clean the bar off. I like to use rubbing alcohol and a rag, lint-free rag, for both this and this surface. And once you do that, you don't really need to replace it with anything because most of these have little foam feet or something on the bottom of them. They don't really have a lot of friction. If you want to put something else down, I used a little bit of silicone spray and just wiped it on a rag and wiped it on the track. It's not going to provide a lot, but it'll provide a little bit of lubrication, which will help, reduce friction and help it move with a little bit less effort. So anyway, that is how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut it on, and I'm just going to show you how this functions, show you how it looks when it's moving. I've cut it on. I'm going to press start. And once I press start, you can see the table starts spinning. It's a direct drive table, so there's a motor underneath it that does that. You can see that moving, that moving, that moving the string. Then it drops. Once it drops, it's going to start playing. I'll turn my receiver on so that you all can hear. That's the music I put on. It's Doc Watson. Love Doc Watson. But you'll notice that once it starts playing, I'm almost certain, I've read that it's actually moved along still using the worm gear, but I believe it disengages. And that just kind of moves it along. I'm not 100%. If it is moving, it's a really minute movement. Like I say, I really can't tell. But anyway, that's how it works. It just basically moves laterally across this track, rides the groove, does its thing. It's a neat system. I hope if you're working on one, this helped, and I hope if you just were trying to understand how one works, it just helped.